Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment for Everton 0, West Ham United 1. Really disappointing New Year's Day result. Not what we wanted to see, Terry, on the start of 2021. We're hoping for better things this year, and it just wasn't the way we wanted to start as we mean to go on anyway. It certainly wasn't what we were hoping for. Terry, what was your take on that game?
It was a 0-0 game, wasn't it? A horrible, Christmas week fixture where there was no quality on show, no energy, but it was just decided by a bit of, luck on their part and a bit of bad luck on our part. Like, I think both teams would have come off that pitch with a 0-0 quite happy and, would have no complaints, but one of those things, isn't it? If they'd gone the other way, in fact, I tell a lie, it did go our way against Sheffield United. That was a 0-0 game, but we got the bit of luck at the end with the goal.
Yeah, we were awful in that Sheffield United game as well. But
yeah, it wasn't even like, all right, the little bit more luck on West Ham's part because of a massive deflection, but we didn't deserve to beat Sheffield United, and to be honest, West Ham didn't really deserve to beat us, but deserve is loads of bollocks. If we'd have got what we deserve, we'd have 2 points from those two games rather than 3. Won one and lost one. But you can't take away from West Ham's good points. They deserve to get something because they defended really well. Like, we couldn't get... Like, some players was, of ours were bad on the night. Richarlison, I think he was still concussed. I've never seen him play
that's
that.
exactly what I said. I think in my instant reaction, I was like, I'm sure he hasn't fully got over whatever the concussion it was he picked up, because he was he looked stoned.
He just kept running into their defender, didn't he? And it wasn't a good performance. Like, we had a lot of our players looked tired, the ones who've played most of the games. But there was one or two who shouldn't be tired, like, like Bernard, who didn't contribute at all. But yeah, it was, I'm not getting too bent out of shape over it. It's 16 games in, we're 5th currently. In the mix for Europe, that's where we'd want to be. If you'd have offered us this at the start of the season, it's just a bit of a sickener to lose a game in that fashion, especially to lose at home. But the way West Ham played, Bonner, players like that, they were so, resolute in their defensive display. And what I said around the time of the game was, this is exactly like the whole match with Chelsea, only this time we are Chelsea. We couldn't get nothing going attacking wise, and the other teams defended really well. So I think 0-0 would have been a fair result, but it would have been against Sheffield United as well. So you need to kind of take that off with the smooth.
Yeah, I think in fairness, that like with the Chelsea situation, you just got to hope that we bounce back from the defeat. I mean, Chelsea lost the next one, but I think since then they've won a few, and I think we just need to make sure we bounce back. That's what I fear the most, is can we bounce back? I know we've got a cup game next, but it's difficult to see the positives when it was such a flat performance. Like, it's one of them, if we played well and got beat, you can live with that. But yeah, I think it's the nature of it. And I've always said this, I was very scared about this during the lockdown, the very first lockdown, about how motivated our players are without fans behind them in the stadium.
I don't think it's a case of motivation. I think it's a case of energy and it's a case of quality. I think the better players didn't have the energy because they played so much, and the players who weren't tired weren't good enough. Like, I don't want to pick on certain players because they were all terrible. But if you look, he's the easiest one. If you look at like the likes of Bernard's, like, I'm not just picking on him, Sigurdsson and all that crap as well. Said Richarlison. But if you look at Bernard, who's come in and he's done well in a little cameo coming off the bench against Sheffield United. He's played this game against a team that are likely more tired than us because they played more games. And he just hasn't had any impact on the game. I just think that's the main thing. If we can get better players eventually going forward, we can win these games, turn these games into wins when most of the players are tired and they haven't got the energy, because the quality shines through. And that's what I think is going to be the key in the rest of the season. Like, we've come through this little period now of Christmas with loads of injuries, and we've sort of had a makeshift team with fullbacks, centre backs for fullback, and we've played Sigurdsson as a second striker almost. Whereas now we're going into this month we took a good point all right, not the best results against West Ham, but now we're soon going to go into back to one game a week, and we're getting Luca Dean back, and we've already got James Rodriguez back, and we're going to get Alan back at the end of the month, and the window's open, and we might get, something, and even if we don't, there's players coming back into the team now, or will be, who will get us more like what we were at the start of the season. That lineup, we've sort of dug out the points for the month of December, and now we're going to go back to one game a week with a proper team. I think it's still right there in our hands this season. It's just one of those results where the luck didn't go for us, but I've got no complaints because we didn't deserve to win. That's the context for me is Sheffield United. We didn't deserve to win that, but we did, and we didn't deserve to lose this, but we did. So we got 3 points instead of probably 2 that we deserved.
That's a very good way of looking at it, but I think we should be concerned about the laziness in these performances. I mean, those players really should have come out the blocks. We could have gone second. We'd had, as much as I hate to say it, Steve McManaman actually had a point when he said that we come out of that, we went into that game with a chance to go second, that incentive in our minds, and an extra couple of days rest on the opposition in a very hectic period. And I just think there should be so much more desire when you consider what was at stake. And it hurts because do these players really want to get into Europe?
Yeah, but it's not the end of the season. It's not like we could have finished second if we'd have won this game. It's the Christmas week. And I'm not saying the desire was right. The desire wasn't right. There was players all over the pitch who just weren't putting in what we expect. But I'm just not up for being really, angry about it. Like I know a lot of people do. I think it's just a little perspectives needed. Like you look at the players on the pitch, some of them haven't got futures at Everton. We won't be seeing Tosin for much longer. If he goes this window or the summer, we won't be seeing Bernard much longer. Sigurdsson, sadly, we might be seeing him a little bit longer, but it's a process.
No, in fairness, as much as I'm not mad on Sigurdsson myself, but at least he, every now and then he contributes with a goal or an assist. When's Tosin contributed with anything or Bernard?
Yeah, I mean, I think people have lost sight though of it's not as many games played as usual at this point. Like we're 16 games in to a 38 game season. There is a long way to go. If we'd have gone second, we still would have been not second in 2 or 3 weeks, probably. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you got to just write those games off and don't go for it, but it's not this end of the world, like, oh, that's it now, we're not getting Europe scenario. There's still a lot of football left to be played, and a lot of football to be played with our better players fit. I think it's just a blip, personally. It's a blip result, and we got through the Christmas period so well. 4 wins and 1.
I was absolutely terrified after the Leeds game going into December with the fixtures we had, and we got 4 wins and a draw, and then this is the only defeat. So it's, in the grand scheme of things, it isn't bad. It's just I'm always fearful when we have a disappointing result like this that it'll derail the season because of the weak mentality of some of the players we've got in the squad.
Yeah, I understand that because history has proven you right on that one, but I don't think it will. Like, we had that run of bad results after the first international break, didn't we? And we've put that to bed in December, and with less tools to do so than we had in that bad run. We had less good players available. So I don't see that as a season derailing result at all. I just think of that as an unfortunate moment in a game. Say Steve McManaman made a good point. I don't think he did, in my opinion. He called a tap in after a wicked deflection, a moment of quality. It's like,
that's a typical McManaman. But in this case, I was just saying that there was the incentive to, push on. I personally think that the way this season is, how tight it is, every game counts.
Yeah, definitely. But as you said before, there's games. We've got the cup game now, and then we're back into the league, and we'll probably have Luca Dean back for that. We'll probably have James starting back for that. I'm not panicking over it because it was one result, and it's a long season. At the risk of repeating myself, it wasn't a good performance. There's a lot of players who didn't turn up. Like some players who we know were not good enough, and some players who we know are our best players, like Richarlison. It was a bad day at the office all round, but I'm just choosing not to get upset by it. It'll be forgot about in a month, and we'll probably win a few more games since then.
Hopefully, but and it is an interesting little. I mean, after I was really rattled by this result, by the way, in case it hasn't shocked you already. I went very geeky and like channeled me in a stat I will look back on. Do you know what Everton's record is like in the New Year's Day fixture since the Premier League started?
Probably terrible. Like for you to mention it.
Yeah, well, in the 29 years we've had since the start of the Prem, there's been 23 league fixtures. Everton have won 6, drawn 4, and lost 13. And it is an even more interesting one. In that time, out of the 6 wins, only 3 of them were actually played on the 1st of January, 96, 2008, and 2012. It just makes me wonder, did the Everton players like have a bit of a knees up on New Year's Eve or something? I don't know what it is. Why are we so bad on New Year's Day?
I don't know. It's just one of those Everton stats, isn't it? It's probably not.
There's hundreds of these Everton stats that I could probably like dig up if I had the time to do it.
I know. I couldn't even try and give you a football explanation for that. There's amounts of different teams at different times.
Exactly. We're talking like 96 there, 2008. Probably better teams in terms of mentality than what we've got now for sure. But whatever it is, the stats do spell out. We beat Southampton in 2017, and since then we've lost 4 New Year's fixtures on the spin. Does that tell you a lot about the shower of players that we've got at the moment?
Half mentality, half depth, probably.
Yeah. A lot of the time we have had injury problems over this period, which, to be fair, we have handled a lot better this time around than we perhaps have in years before. But yeah, I'd like to think we might actually, Everton might not ruin a New Year's Day for once, maybe next year, you never know.
Well, wasn't really New Year's Day this year, was it?
To be honest, it's all just a bit of a blur for me at this stage. I mean, just got to get through this another year of this rubbish, and I'm not even talking in a football sense there. By the way, I'm referring to some far more important things that are going on in the world. Yeah, without getting too dreary, we'll move on from that. What are the positives then that you can see moving forward? I mean, one of the other positives I will add from that track record that I've just like read out, that a lot of the time we have gone and bounced back in the January. It's always been a time where we have sort of improved at times in years gone by. Obviously, we've got a cup game first. We've got to win that. No freaking excuses there whatsoever. And then after that, like league fixtures, we've got Aston Villa, Wolves. I haven't even looked beyond that, to be honest. So I'll have to do my homework a bit more on that. But I think it's all about bouncing back here. If these players have got it in them to bounce back, and they've got to start finding ways to win games at Goodison without the fans there, because that's not something we've done very well. I think we had the West Brom and Brighton games at the start of the season, but other than that, we haven't really done very well without the supporters. I think that's something that the players need to find it within themselves to find that desire and will to win. I don't think was there yesterday, or sorry, on New Year's Day. I just think we need to find something like that in ourselves. The players need to find it within themselves to motivate themselves through a game, get themselves coming out of the block straight away, rather than waiting for and letting the other team grow into the game. Like, that was what irritated me. Is like we were the form team. We go into that game, we should be right out of the blocks. Like, just have a bit of desire. You know what? If we'd have gone for that straight away, I reckon we might have nabbed a goal early doors, and we could have sat back then, and they could have done what they liked. And the way we've been defending lately, we probably would have shaded the 1-0 or something like that. I just think we need to get an early goal, this team, and we have done on a number of occasions. Anytime we did with Sheffield United, and on that occasion they were rubbish, so we got away with it. I think on the other occasions, I think we've always managed to find a goal in the first half, and that's a big one. I think for us, we get the first goal, we win games.
Yeah, it's probably true of a lot of teams that, but it's just goals are hard to come by when your two biggest chance creators, Dean and Rodriguez, aren't fit. Like, but Rodriguez is fit now, and Dean's very close. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back in for the next league game, and then you'll suddenly see Calvert-Lewin will start scoring again. The team will start scoring more in general again because the chance creators are back. If your two biggest creative outlets are injured, you're not going to create a lot of chances. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's had a bit of a goal drought because no one's making any chances for him. He's just got to hold the ball up and bring other players in. That's all he's been. That's all his job's been for games. But yeah, we should hopefully, fingers crossed with other injuries, turn a corner now. Not just results-wise, but performance-wise as well. We'll see a different.
One big positive I think that we haven't even touched on, well, we haven't touched on much anyway, is we're into the transfer window now. We could maybe get a few players in that can help us improve.
Well, I don't know. Our records of buying in January is awful. Like, I know everyone will say, well, so-and-so bought so-and-so. It's like, yeah, but that's them, not us. We always, most of the time, well, not always, but 90% of the time, I'd say, we buy crap we're trying to get rid of. When we buy in January, we give it a year.
We talk about, you're referring to a Walcott and a Toffee there, I presume.
Yeah, the most recent ones, but you look at other ones, you look at Nias, Jelavic, all right, he did well when he first came in, but then he was a donkey after that. Like, very, very, Aidan McGeady, the amount of players we buy in January, they usually...
There's some names that I've been desperately trying to forget.
It's usually in January you buy absolute tosh off another team who are happy to sell. Like, if someone came in for a Charleston now, we just laugh at them and go, no, we're not selling him. It's the middle of a season. We'll sell him in the summer for a big price. We did it with Idrissa Gueye. He was always going to go to PSG, but we weren't selling him in the middle of a season. Why would other clubs do that with their good players? But if someone came in for Bernard now, yeah, you can have him. It's fine. Teams just point blank, unless there's circumstances which change things, like massive bids, which frankly we're not going to do at this point. Unless we're willing to pay hugely over the odds, you don't get any good players in January. Like, you look at the ones who have been good, you go, oh, well, Virgil van Dijk was the biggest one. Yeah, they paid 75 million for him, which was a world record for a defender at the time. We're not going to
go... Still is, for the defender thing.
Well, for a defender, yeah. It was in massive amounts for a quality player, but it's like, yeah, but we're not going to go and spend a massive amount on a quality player. We're going to go and try and find a player who will, he might be better than what we've got, but then in 12 months' time, he won't be any better than what we've got. We'll be looking to get rid of him like we are with Tosin, and we're going to let Walcott go for free. And I'm not against signs in January, but I'm not, pinning me season hopes on it, because like a lot of people are, because the record is bad. Like, we don't tend to buy well in January, and most teams have got that record as well. It's only the odd few deals which are good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we was referring to the transfer window, I was referring in particular to Sami Khedira, which has been a name that's increasingly been linked over the last couple of days. What's your take on Khedira? Would you have him?
It's not for me. I don't see him. He's played 17 games in 2 years. I don't think it's you know what I mean? Like, if put it this way, if he comes in, he's on a very short deal on reasonable wages, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't cry about it and go, oh, what are we doing? Like, if you come in on a 5-year deal, then you'd be, what the hell are we doing?
Infuriated, yeah.
But if he comes in, he comes in. If you say you leave the decision up to me, I'm probably not going to go for it. But if he does come in, I hope he's better than what we've got outside of Allen and Decore, because I think we need additions in that area. But
desperately.
I don't know whether he'd be the answer. Not for me, but I wouldn't be too bent out of shape if it happens.
There's been links to Dele Alli. I think that'd be a good move personally. Would you consider that?
No, I've mentioned this on other videos. It's not even about his quality as a player. It's just the everything surrounding that potential deal. One, they probably won't loan to us because where we are in the table, because we're a rival for European football. They're not going to strengthen us. If they were to loan him, they're not going to sell us to him cheap, and I don't want to be spending big money at the end of a loan for a player who I don't think's worth big money. And I don't think his mentality is very good. You watch the Spurs documentary, he seems to be a bit of a petulant, spoiled baby. Like, he doesn't train well, which we know is a big thing for Carlo.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing. I've got a very big problem with a lot of the current players we've got. So, with that in mind,
after results, he seems to come in and strop in the changing room, and he's arguing with players, but not in an argument with players like he demands better. Just he's a bit of a tit. Like, I don't want more of that at the club. I want more, leaders, and he doesn't seem like he's a leader at all. So he'd have to be, some silly levels of quality to put up with all that baggage to have, and I don't think he's worth it. And this whole thing, well, Carlo will sort him out. Mike Mourinho hasn't sorted him out. It's not like he's had, dud managers who just don't get him. He's had another manager who's one of the very best.
Pochettino and Mourinho. I mean, since he's been at Spurs, like,
yeah,
you can't do much better than that.
Not for me, Dele Alli. Yeah, again, if he comes in, I'd be very surprised, and I hope he does well, but I don't see it.
But to be fair, he did all right under Pochettino.
Yeah, but for a bit, wasn't even that good when he was, like, you know what I mean? He wasn't good the whole time either, was he? He was.
That's one of them, I think.
I know Owen likes him. Owen really does, want to take him, but I think it's a non-starter for the reasons I mentioned, and he plays in a number 10 position, and I think we're going to go 4-3-3 as it goes on. He's not a midfielder, and we don't play a number 10. We have done with injuries, don't get me wrong, we've been using Sigurdsson in that role, but look at earlier in the season when we had all of our players available. James is our number 10, but he plays off the right. The middle three need to be hard workers to give those front three the freedom, and I don't think Dele Alli's that. I
think that's the thing. I think at the moment we've got two very good hard workers in that middle of the park, but we need a third because we need legs all the way through that midfield, especially if James doesn't track back. We know that. I think
you got three grafters in the middle of the pitch. Don't need them to. You can accommodate that for a star player, but Dele Alli's not going to do that. Dele Alli's going to.
He's going to want to be that star player, isn't he? But
I don't even think that. He just plays off a striker. If we had Barry and McCarthy and we played 4-2-3-1 with Calvert-Lewin up front, then Dele Alli could play in that number 10 position easily. But we don't have those players. We were playing a 4-3-3, or we're going to. And I don't think Dele Alli fits in that, even if they would give him to us rather. And they're not going to, frankly.
Fair play. Yeah, taking the transfers out the equation, what do we do to bounce back from this result then? Obviously the Rotherham game, we'll probably see a lot of changes. But
game, simple as that. It doesn't matter who it is, whether you're playing Rotherham or whether you're playing Man City, or Liverpool. Just win the next. I mean, maybe not Liverpool, but win the next game. You win the next game, then that result goes out the window, and you move on. You sort of categorise that as a bad results blip. Whereas if you lose the next game,
all of a sudden
you're suddenly in a bad run of form. So beat Rotherham, and then you can go into the next league game, and you look at that. We've won, 5 out of 6 or whatever it is, rather than we've lost the last 2. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, obviously, the next game against Aston Villa is not going to be an easy one, is it?
No, they're a quality side at the minute. They are a very good team. I don't know. I'll say what I think about that when I know what players we've got available for it. But that's going to be a really tough game. They're one of the better teams this season.
If we got any now, so we'll low block the shit out of them.
Well, they'll look at us the same way. They'll go, they're a good team this season. They're like us. So I think this Villa team's really good. So that'll be a very tough game.
Yeah, we'll wait and see anyway. But that's what we've got to hope now. I think moving forward, is that this defeat on New Year's Day was but a mere blip. I just want to see whatever happens in the next game. I just want to see more desire. That's all that matters to me. Is like, I can forgive bad results if the players have put hard yards in. I think that's literally
Time will tell.
down to. We'll have to wait and see. I'd like to see some new faces in the window, but just gotta hope for the best, I guess. Like, it's annoying really because we're in the middle of this what was a dead tight run of fixtures, and now we've got to wallow over this result for 8 days. It's like that's just typical, that isn't it? We're like, let's see how we go. Provided there's a lot of wholesale changes for the cup game, these players who've played in the West Ham game will get like, what will it be, 11 days rest, which is very much needed, I think. But it's important that they use that rest to the best of their ability and come back fighting against Villa. We've got to come right out of the blocks and make life difficult for them. Can't let teams have it all their own way. That's the one thing you cannot do in the Premier League, and that's literally it. Desires everything. It is. It's plasters on the wall of Finch Farm. All this hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard and all that. We can go on with all those little quotes for days, but we've got to put it into action. I think.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens. Anyway, guys, let us know your opinions. Drop us a comment below on this video. Everton 0, West Ham 1. Not the best start to 2021, but is to open it picks up from here. Give us a comment, give this video a like, subscribe for more content as we move through 2021. Hopefully a better 2021 than there was 2020. So yeah, drop us a comment, give us a like and a subscribe, and until next time, thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.